Hey baby, I hear those blues calling. It's time for the Frazier on Frazier podcast. Welcome. Hello, my name is Adam Frazier, and with me is my co-host, guest star of this episode, Mr. Wes Corwin.
Hey, how you guys doing? Yeah.
We're doing great.
Yeah.
I'm doing. It's only the two of us.
I'm vamping. I'm playing for the crowd. I'm playing for the cheap seats. Yeah. Thank you. Oh man, so you guys look excited to be here. By which I mean, you seem excited, co-host. Yeah.
Yeah, they sure do.
I can't.
Do.
I can't hear you. Yes. Yes.
Just please.
Let's do it. Let's make it happen.
All right. So I think today's episode is going to be a little bit different. We're not going to be. I guess we're not going to go through the episode sort of. We're not going to read through sort of the entire transcript like we've been doing. We're just sort of going to give our general impressions of the show.
Okay.
So be as thorough, I guess. We're already seen the episode.
We have seen the episode.
Yes, and we've seen the episode.
I've seen it. Yep.
It's the episode we just watched, Frasier, Season 1, Episode 11, Death Becomes Him.
Death Becomes Him.
It is a reference to the Robert Zemeckis film, Death Becomes Her.
Oh.
Have you ever seen it? I think we talked about this at the end of the last episode, but you haven't seen Death Becomes Her.
I haven't.
Really good. It's Meryl Streep, Bruce Willis, and Goldie Hawn.
Okay, that's cool.
And, it's a good little movie. So, but this doesn't involve like people like becoming immortal or blowing themselves up or anything like that. This is just a regular episode of Frasier, pretty much. In which Frasier has a touch of the death anxiety.
He's just terrified of dying. He doesn't want to die.
Well, yeah, and he's. It's not like that. It's not like I think in some, because there are some shows that deal with this topic, but I don't feel like this one goes as far with it. It's not as if he becomes like a recluse and like a shut in and like doesn't want to go outside or do anything. He's just obsessed with figuring out sort of how this person died. This doctor who works in Niles' building.
Works in Niles' building, is very successful and artsy and cultured. All the values Frasier has, he seems to have, as he's hearing about where he lives and his house and his arts. He's like, oh man, this guy and me are the same. And then this man dies, and it's like it really sets Frasier off.
He is a Lichtenstein.
Mm-hmm.
Which that is the pop artist who does all the. You've seen his paintings. They look like comic book panels, basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he makes the art out of the dots. He does the dot stuff.
Yes, he does. God, we're just the most cultured people, aren't we?
Yeah.
So the episode pretty much begins. Martin was supposed to get a physical.
Yes.
And he skipped out on it because he doesn't like doctors, pretty much. He's a crotchety old man, doesn't like doctors, doesn't like people poking around down there. So Frasier and Niles and Daphne pretty much, they all get him to go to this new doctor. The doctor's name, I just had it.
It was, let's see, Dr. Hoffman? What was it? It was, Gary Newman. He recorded...
Dr. Gary Newman.
He recorded the song Cars.
I think it's just Dr. Newman. Do we get a first name?
No, he says Dr. Gary Newman. My mind was so... I know who you should see. Dr. Gary... I've got the transcript right here. His office is in my building. Dr. Gary Newman. He has a very successful practice.
We didn't get a joke about Gary Newman's?
No, his name is just Gary Newman.
Not to be confused with Gary Newman, the British singer.
No, he did. Yep.
That would have been something, though.
That would have been really. I assume Gary Newman was going to play the part, and then they couldn't find him on the lot, so they had to kill him, and that sort of set off. Originally, it was just the fun Gary Newman episode, and then became the death episode.
Yeah, that's a shame.
Yeah.
So Frazier takes his father Martin to the doctor. They sit around waiting. The doctor hasn't showed up. Frazier goes to check and see what's wrong, and comes back and he's like, "Oh well, I'm afraid looks like Dr. Newman won't be seeing you today, Dad." And this upsets Martin. He goes off on sort of a tirade about how, he's probably played one too many golf games and he sprained his back or something.
They've been waiting for a while. They've been waiting for their appointment to start. The start time was 30 minutes ago. They've been there for 30 minutes. Frazier and Martin are both getting impatient, but Frazier just learns that the guy lives in this fancy neighborhood. What was the neighborhood? It was Lake Chelan, and he's like, Lake Chelan. Oh, this guy must be. And he's assuaged. Martin is still angry, and then as Martin is ranting and raving about, the doctor won't be in at all if I'm playing golf, they find out Frazier reveals that the doctor died an hour ago.
Not before Martin calls the doctor an arrogant,
inconsiderate jerk. Yep.
At which point Frazier tells him that he's dead, and Martin's attitude does sort of a 180. He says, "I'm sure he was a very good man."
Yep, of course.
So yeah, that pretty much kicks off the episode. We get a scene where Frazier is talking with Roz and about how he just doesn't understand really how someone his age, like him, doctor, someone, sort of the top of his profession. Frazier's kind of, I think, building himself up a little bit here, but, how he could just die like that. And Roz somehow turns the conversation to about how she's dating an older man and is worried about what will happen if he were to die while they're in bed or something.
Mm-hmm. Frazier is afraid because he's the same age as the guy that died, and he insists 41 years old, and he doesn't. Let's see. No. He doesn't. He says that the doctor is his age. Roz reveals, well, yeah, you're doesn't that? Frazier's like, doesn't that terrify you? He was my age. I'm not that old. And Roz was like, well, I don't think of you that way because you're 41 and I'm not. And Roz is the one that establishes that Frazier's age and that Roz is not 41, younger than that, and doesn't see. If there's enough of an age gap that Roz is very comfortable with her distance from the afterlife, and Frazier is terrified of it at this point in time.
Right.
We also don't establish. So again, Roz has an interesting view of how old people are, and she considers 41 apparently pretty close to the grave, and she doesn't have to worry about it. But we never completely establish how old this partner is of Roz, but apparently he's old enough that at any point he could go, because while they get all physical, apparently he starts breathing heavy enough that she's worried he will die, which is something.
Yeah, you'd have to be pretty old for that to be a concern, Roz.
You'd have to be pretty old, or just have a terrible heart, just have a horrible circulatory system.
Frazier makes the comment, how come, every time we start having a serious discussion, we end up talking about your sex life? Roz quips back, because I have one.
And it's, got him, you idiot, you dumb fuck. I come to this job to talk about my sex, and you walked into that. You walked into it every time.
Oh, God. Yeah, I don't. We don't really know how old Roz is doing. She's 30 something,
She's 30
like
something.
late 30s. I would guess
Hmm.
around the same
That
like
sounds
Niles.
that sounds right. Uh,
Well,
let's see. Can we establish, like, we know Frasier is 41. Do we
yeah,
say how old Roz is? So she was, well, if this is the character, I don't know if the character has the same birthday as the actress Perry Gilpin.
very
Let's
good.
Perry
I
Gilpin.
don't. I don't think that. I mean, I think it's probably safe to say that they play pretty fast and loose with the characters' ages. Kelsey Grammer, I'm just looking at the IMDb page for this episode.
Hmm.
He was actually 38 at the time that they filmed this episode. He was actually younger.
Interesting
Um,
that, yeah. So they fudged. But they actually fudge Roz in the opposite direction because Perry Gilpin's birthday is May 27th, 1961. But if you check the Frasier wiki, which I had pulled up before we started talking, Roz was born May 5th, 1963, which is 2 years younger than she actually is. Like, so the Roz character's age shifted younger, and they shifted Frasier's age older.
uh, so yeah, so I mean, she's not that much younger than Frasier, though.
Yeah, she's like maybe exactly 30. Since the episode was released in '93, she might be late 20s.
Hmm. Well, I mean, and of course she'll only get older as the episodes go on.
That's how
We'll
time
see.
works, Adam, for sure.
Well, maybe we'll see some growth. Maybe we will see her outlook on death and mortality change.
I'm excited about it. That sounds great.
Um, so yeah, Frasier is sort of obsessing. I wouldn't go so far as to say that he's afraid of death.
He's concerned about how it could happen at any time. So he's not. It's not necessarily death. It's the unexpected. Trying to put together a mystery of how someone his age, with so much culture, could die. It's he doesn't take any steps to avoid death. He just wants to understand how this happened.
Right. Specifically to this guy, like it's not. It's he goes on to say like later in the episode that he's wanting to figure out a way he can, I guess, distance himself from this person's death, this person who was so like him.
So
Um,
very, very like
so
him.
better about his own, mortality.
Yes.
Um, so I don't really think of it as him being afraid of death, just him being, I guess, yeah, just sort of anxious, a little paranoid, maybe.
Maybe.
We get our next scene where he's divvying up. He's called a family meeting. It's him, Niles, Martin, and Daphne, and he's gonna have them pick out which of his possessions they want after he's dead.
He's
He
brought
sort of
a
wants.
roll of stickers, and he's handing them out to Martin and Niles and saying, anything you want, put a sticker on.
Which is sort of about it. I would think, like, why would you put stickers on stuff unless you were like expecting to die soon?
Yeah, but
Because then you just got stickers all over the house.
I mean, but it puts a reality on it. And over the course of Frasier's decreasing health, it kind of opens up the discussion to start doing trades. Like, hey, I notice you have a sticker on this, but you got your eye on this. Why don't we trade these? And then stickers move. You sort of gamify Frasier's upcoming death, which is
I guess
something. So I think Frasier's doing something pretty considerate and letting people make sort of a game out of his mortality, because it won't be a fun time, but it could be.
I guess that's right.
Yeah.
So, and he also there are other things I think they discuss. Yeah, like his funeral arrangements. What Daphne is going to do because apparently he thinks that Daphne, being the housekeeper, is the one most likely to find his body.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a little presumptuous, but okay.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, if I may, I think because Martin isn't very mobile, and Niles comes over sometimes, but he doesn't live at the house. So statistically, the most likely person to discover I think Frazier is putting his chips on like 40-50% odds. Daphne's the one that discovers him dead in his home. So I understand the mentality. It's either her or like if if everybody moves out, it'll be like a medical examiner, or some cop answering a 911 that there's a horrible smell in the apartment below Frazier's now because he's rotting. This is this is just this is a very morbid episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be. It's just an entire episode. Eddie finds Frazier's dead body.
Eddie finds and starts eating because he can't open a bag of dog food by himself. He doesn't have hands. So he starts to slowly consume Frazier.
Oh God, that would be dark.
Let's see. I mean, we could write a pilot episode. I don't know how likely it is, but we could start planning this out. This sounds like a problem that I'd like to see Eddie solve. Is Frazier?
Yeah.
Frazier's mortality.
And it does kind of give us a good segue to the next scene where, so Frazier's lying on the couch.
He's lying on this couch.
He's got his ears in his fingers in his ears. He's trying to listen to his heartbeat. I thought that what he was doing was he was trying to envision what it would be like if he were dead. Like if he were dead, buried in the ground, in his coffin, like he was sort of like trying to deprive himself of his senses, you know?
Right, sure. Like, I mean, when you're dead, if you're in a coffin, of course, they're going to place your fingers in your ears. Because that's what funeral directors do is they make sure, like, okay, let's put him in a dignified position. His fingers go in his ears, and make sure there's a dog near him. Otherwise, people won't feel good about the funeral.
I just meant he was trying to deprive himself. I mean, have you never done that? Have you never just sort of lied in bed and been real quiet and close your eyes and just pretend and try to imagine what it's like if you were like, just dead and didn't have any of these senses?
No, I can't say. I enjoy all five senses, Adam. I've never tried to deprive myself of any. I will tell you this. I enjoy four senses. Sometimes I will intentionally burn my tongue so I can't taste things. But other than that, I like all the other senses.
Does your sense of smell get better, or no? It gets worse in that case.
No. Well, so here's the thing: when you burn your tongue intentionally, all the other senses get stronger. I'm like Daredevil, but for taste. All right, I'm sorry. Let's keep rolling. So
terrible.
Truly terrible superpower. I can see so well because I can't taste things anymore. So.
Are you fight crime, sir?
I don't actually fight, but I can see it from slightly further away on account of my burnt tongue. So Martin is trying to assure Frazier that everything's going to be okay. Because he's not so much assuring him. He relates to him because he talks about when he was on the force, he saw somebody get shot dead before he hit the ground, and he just learned it's part of life. You got to cope with it. He couldn't be a cop if he was afraid of death. So the next time he saw a door like the one he saw that guy went through, he charged right through it. Complete coincidence. He got shot in the hip, which is. Go ahead.
Well, it kind of contradicts later. Well, I won't spoil anything, but we do at later episodes we do sort of get a more detailed recounting of how Martin got shot.
Mm-hmm.
And and since it's implied in this episode that he did it because he was, just rushing through a door, not worrying about whether or not there's someone on the other side of the door who's going to shoot him, which kind of contradicts with what happens in the real world or in the actual recounting of it. So just pointing that out, just calling the show out on its inconsistencies, as a good fan does.
Yes, got to. So,
and
go ahead.
It's Mark who gives Frazier the idea of looking into Dr. Newman's medical history, because Frazier, up until this point, he's just been obsessed about how similar him and Gary Newman are. One is he's a doctor at the height of his profession. He is a musician at the height of his profession. They should be, in sync death-wise, but not. And Martin is the one who gives him the idea to look into his medical history, because for all we know, he could have not been very healthy. He could have been. He could have been.
Unhealthy is the word you're looking for.
Yes, the word I'm looking for.
He could have been in poor health.
I don't know why I was trying to think of something funny when I could have just said he was unhealthy.
He was unhealthy is what you were trying to get at. Yeah.
So we get our next scene where. So the way that Frazier decides he's going to figure out how unhealthy this guy is, he's going to go to his funeral.
Going to go straight to his funeral.
Yeah, he's going to get it straight from the horse's mouth.
Calls the house, figures out where the funeral is. It's going to be at his house. He gets to the funeral, doesn't ask any other questions. Is it a Jewish funeral? Why would Frazier care? He's not going to care. It is a Jewish funeral. Frazier's not Jewish.
Yeah, his wife is, as he points out, but he's not Jewish.
It's going to come up a lot. Frazier is not Jewish.
So yeah, he basically just walks in on the Shiva while these people are in mourning. And he meets Alan, who is Gary Newman's cousin, and as people who listen to this podcast know, I have been sort of trying to catalog all the various connections between the Frasier verse and the Star Trek verse.
The overlap between the Frasier verse and the Star Trek universe.
Exactly. And this is the only one I could really find in this episode. We had the actor who plays Alan, Mr. Murray Rubenstein. Who plays a doctor in the Star Trek video game Star Trek Borg from 1996, which is a full motion video game. If you're not familiar with those, that's something that they used to do in rather than like program like graphics and like and pixels and stuff like that. They would just record video and then digitize it, and then you sort of interact with the video in like key places. It was a very specific period in video games where they were doing that.
Yes, it was. There were a lot of games like that. One of them was Ripper, starring Christopher Walken. That was not a good game. Let's keep talking. Let's talk about Frasier.
Let's talk about it. So Frazier basically is pumping these funeral goers for information about how Gary Newman died and what his health was like. And of course, in sort of a very comical fashion, we find out that he was not unhealthy. In fact, he was in great shape. He worked out. He was a vegetarian. He had less than 10% body fat.
He was the epitome of health. To which Frazier replies, like, "Oh, have we checked to see if he's dead?" Which is horrifies people.
You shouldn't have a funeral.
Just not a
unless,
good. Yeah.
Unless the coroner was just you had like a very shoddy coroner
Yeah.
who didn't.
If you decide to spend a lot on the casket and a lot on the catering, and you decide to go, where did Frazier get his? He got it from. Oh, what was? It would be great if I had it on the cuff. It was the place that Morgensons.
Morton.
It
Yeah.
was Michelson's. That's where Frazier is getting his funeral catered. But if you get your catering done at Michelson's and you get your coffin done at the nice coffin place, sometimes you don't have enough money to afford like the best of the line mortuary who comes in and checks your pulse and goes, "He's dead." Sometimes you got to skimp a little bit, and sometimes somebody gets buried alive because you're putting the dollar on the extra stuff.
Well, and yeah, and that's how life is sometimes.
So that's how life is.
So Frazier, he eventually he begins speaking with. He goes over to Mrs. Newman, the widow, who was, I guess, the person he originally came to talk to about Gary and his health, and she's going through kind of the same sort of crisis that Frazier is, in that she doesn't understand how someone in as good a shape as Gary could just die as young as he did. And Frazier, of course, being at heart, he's he helps people. He's a psychiatrist. He gives people advice. He advises her, there is no real answer how someone who can, not take care of themselves grow to be, 80 something, and then someone who does take great care of themselves dies at 41. It's all we have to do is really just live the best of life. Live for the little joy prizes life affords us.
Yes.
You can't spend your life being obsessed with death, which is exactly what Frazier's been doing this entire episode.
The hypocrisy, but also you hope at that point that Frazier is at least a little bit more self-aware and has learned something from talking to this widow.
Yep, that's how character development works.
Yep.
So Frazier leaves. He's still a little sad because he didn't really get the answers he was looking for. But he made some other people feel nice. And on his way out, a very attractive woman gives him her phone number in case they want to get to know each other a little bit more. So that's a perfect example of one of life's little surprises, and that, of course, his spirits lift a little bit after that. And that is the end of our episode.
What a journey we went on. Frazier thought he was going to die, and then it turns out he might get laid. Isn't that how it goes?
It's all about those little surprises.
It's about those little surprises.
So, Wes, any more thoughts on? Any particular any jokes that we liked?
Let's see. This is, I think, the second, with the exception of the commercial episode where Frazier got real hard into commercials. This is like out of the last 5 episodes, the last 3 have been very either about cheating or death, or cheating and death. And this one is entirely about death, which is there was one joke. There was some well-written comedy throughout Frasier. The "but I'm not Jewish" joke plays specifically into a thing called the rule of threes in comedy, where you do something 3 times, and the third time you make it the funniest thing. And at the end of Frasier's long monologue about how you can't spend your life being obsessed with death, Ms. Newman, a grieving widow, says, "You're not Jewish, are you?" Which has gotten exceedingly funny every time he says it, and then that's the capper that sort of wraps that episode. One thing that's fun also in terms of a good joke is the stickers. It gives just enough time after a serious... So, as we establish, Frasier gives Martin and Al stickers to put on things that they want, and then at the end of the scene, you see Niles put a sticker on a bottle of wine that's very nice from '75, and you think it's not going to come up again. And then at the end of Martin and Frasier's decision, Frazier decides to go to the funeral. He grabs his robe and discovers a sticker that Niles put on there, and very very well written.
I think that's actually something that Frasier, specifically these early seasons, does really well. Are these jokes that sort of play out in like one scene and then later come back in some way and then another.
Yes.
And then the other running joke in this episode was that we had, of course, Niles trying to impress Daphne. We're gonna have to pause real quick because my nose is bleeding.
Oh, is your nose? You got a nosebleed?
I don't know if you can
Oh
see
my
that,
goodness! Yeah. You are bleeding actively. Are you okay?
Yeah, I don't know.
Don't tilt your head back.
Adam, Maggie says, "Don't tilt your head back."
Don't tilt my head back.
Don't tilt your head back. Do not.
Just let it come out.
Just let it flow. It's already gone.
Wait, let it flow or
let it flow. Do not tilt your head back.
Wait, so I should just let it bleed?
Yeah.
Well, hold on, but should he like
cover it?
Cover
yeah,
it.
like
cover
catch
it up.
the blood. Just don't try and make it.
Don't make it go back in. It's already gone. You can't trick it into going back into your face.
This is a little work. I did have, it wasn't a nosebleed, but like I blew my nose and there was like a big old bloody chunk in there.
Oh man, is it dry? Is it particularly dry? Do you get nosebleeds this time of year?
There are certain times of year where I get nosebleeds. It's just, I've been inside for a while, so
yeah.
You should lean forward. There you go. What you're doing is good. Just don't lean your head back. That's bad for it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, guys.
No, that's okay, bud. Don't apologize. It's not you didn't choose to be bleeding. It's okay.
Maggie, you there?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're just here.
Have you been there the entire time?
Around 20 minutes in, she decided she wanted to take a nap, and she asked if I could turn it down, but that would have ruined the audio, so I only turned it down a couple clicks. But she still decided to take a nap here. Yeah,
I haven't been.
Not the whole episode.
I haven't been napping.
She gave me a weird look when I did the Daredevil but for taste bit, because it was inherently ridiculous.
Are you better?
Maybe.
Don't lean your head back.
Not.
Okay.
Getting a new paper towel.
Ah, good. Okay.
I think most of it's stopped.
Good.
This has been the other one I had earlier today didn't last very long either.
Yeah, how many have you had in the last couple of weeks?
Just two today.
Oh, okay.
This one.
I bet your one from earlier wasn't done yet.
Yeah, maybe. Just gonna kind of stick it up my nose here.
Cool.
All right, forget where I was.
We were just saying the funny bits from the thing. So I finished saying mine, which were the Niles bit, and then you started talking about how Frasier is really good at that, especially in the early seasons.
Yeah, I was going to talk about one of the other running jokes in this episode.
Hit it. Go for it.
We're recording?
We've been recording. I'm gonna cut out the nosebleed bit. We're not keeping the nosebleed bit. But
Can I take a nap here?
well, we're about to wrap. This is the very last part, and then I'll and then yes, then you can nap.
Do you have time to watch DS9 or?
Y'all can watch DS9 in the other room.
I'll go to the other room and we can watch an episode.
All right, I'm good. I'm ready.
Okay, you're good.
So Rex, the other really funny.
Just organically, right back into it, like nothing happened.
Yeah, it's not. We didn't break for anything at all.
No.
The other really funny part in this, the running gag in this episode is that once again we have Niles sort of swooning over Daphne. So early in the episode, she mentions that she likes rugged men.
Yes.
And so throughout the episode, we have Niles sort of making attempts at being rugged.
Right. And it's played very subtle. A less intelligent show would make a big show of like, oh man, I want Daphne to like so, but it does a good job of just leaving that in the background. And by the time Daphne reveals, like she likes beefier, manlier men, we reveal that Niles has already like folded a napkin, like a tablecloth, into a swan, and then he smashes it.
It was a B-52 bomber or something.
It was a B-50. No, it was a B-52.
Yeah.
Was that a swan? No, it was a B-52.
So, there are other little moments like that that I really enjoyed in this episode.
Yes.
Our next episode is titled "Miracle on 3rd or 4th Street." Frazier plans for a Merry Christmas with Frederick, Martin, and Niles are. Sorry, let me do that again.
Oh, okay.
Our next episode is Miracle on 3rd or 4th Street. Frazier's plans for a Merry Christmas with Frederick, Martin, and Niles are derailed after Lilith cancels the plans to take Frederick to Australia. So Frazier's having to spend Christmas all by himself. These episodes are so depressing.
Golly, this is 4 out of 6. Not to mention that they don't even have the joy of like, oh well, I guess we'll take a family Christmas card because they already took their Christmas card like 4 episodes ago. So they've got at least that's taken care of.
I guess we got something to look forward to. In any case, I want to thank you all for listening. Once again, my name is Adam Frazier. Wes Corwin has been with me and been fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening, and good night. The Frazier on Frazier podcast wishes to thank KACL780.net for providing episode transcripts and Ronald O'Connell for providing our theme song, Frazier MIDI.